Morning, guys. My name is Chris Puerta. I'm the commercial manager for the digital workplace division here in First Digital, the first technology company. We're excited to host today's event and give you guys this great overview of the Microsoft Power Platform's Copilot toolset. The demand for this webinar was impressive, and we believe you will find it valuable. In today's session, we'll look at how the Microsoft Copilot supports AI initiatives to improve and extend the low-code Power Platform environment and toolchain, from an app development, a workflow design, as well as a site and bot building component, or the virtual agents. The session will be hosted by myself and Gary Finberg, our Senior Technical Manager at Digital Workplace. And just a little FYI, Microsoft is a long-standing partner of First Digital, a relationship that dates back to the inception of First Digital, and we're excited to demonstrate their technology today. As mentioned, my name is Chris and Gary. We're the two hosts for today. And then just a quick brief overview of our business. Split into 4 divisions. Heading up is our innovations area, looking at application and mobile development, all the integration and cloud development components, DevOps and Dynamics, to mention a few. Digital Workplace that we look after is everything around Office 365, the SharePoint, Power Platform, and Viva Stack, low-code, employee collaboration, Teams, and obviously employee engagement. Next, we have our automation and integration team. These are our Nintex and K2 powerhouse, and building business process automation and low-code development in that technology stack. And then finally, we have our data and analytics teams. This is all the big data components, the Synapse, the Power BI, the Azure Data Lakes, to mention a few. All right, so in this session, we will explain and take you guys through the components of the Microsoft Power Platform's Copilot features and give you some practical examples of the technology in action. So without further delay, let's get automating. You guys should be able to see my screen now. I'm now in the Power Apps Studio, the browser-based tooling to build our Power Platform solutions. All right, so I'm going to go and start today by creating an application for us that's going to track our hardware and software assets, a common request within organizations, and use Copilot to design the application, and then also to follow that up with a workflow process on the back end to automate activities once we have captured data in the solution. Okay, so I'm going to start here in my environment by providing a natural language sentence around what I would like the system to do. I would like it to track hardware and software assets by region and by team. So the first thing that the Power Platform Copilot component does is that it instantiates the underlying table structure for me. This table structure will live in the Microsoft database, and this will be directly associated with your app for the development as well as the production instance of the solution. So here I can see by simply asking for a hardware and software related solution, it's come up with these columns: an asset ID, a region, a team, an asset type, and that's all we can see for now. Okay, that's a good start, but I want to extend this. Let's go and say we want to add a description and serial number field. There we go. It's added a description field for me into the structure, as well as a serial number. Excellent. Let's add some more here. Add a currency field for the value. And we've got a value column, and let's do something else. Let's add a warranty expiry date and renewal date field. Okay, so right now I'm simply defining the structure of my application. What's all the controls and fields that I want to use to capture data? Then I've got my warranty expiry field now ready and my renewal ID. Okay. I want to just quickly change these regions and these themes so that they're more applicable to me. So I'm going to go ahead and say, change the region fields, field choices to South African provinces. Super. Then I can see the options have now been populated with South African provinces as options. And I also want to change those team values. Change the team choices to digital workplace, innovation, automation, and data. That should update my choice selectors for my team. Excellent. There's my choices updated. And just to make this a bit more useful, let's go ahead and add 10 more rows of data, of sample data. Excellent. All right. So I've got my asset ID. I've got my region with South African choices as options. I've got my teams with my topical choices configured. We've got an asset type, a description, a serial number, a value, warranty expiry, and a renewal date. Excellent. I'm happy with my fields for my solution. I'm going to go ahead and click on create my app. Okay. So let Power Platform go ahead and spin up this app for me. Okay, there we go. It's busy instantiating the UI. It's now already created my table for me in Dataverse. Almost there. Excellent, excellent. And I can see my app is loaded. Let's make that just a little bit bigger. So here I now have a asset tracking app. Simply by providing the fields that I wanted to capture, the Power Platform has gone ahead and provisioned an application for me. Okay, so just a quick couple of things before we move forward. I'm just going to quickly go ahead and add for us a button in here. Give that button a title. Let's call it Insights. And I'm just going to increase that height a little bit. There we go. There's our new button. Let's go ahead and add one more screen into our app. Another sidebar app. Sorry, sidebar screen. Excellent. And I've got another screen in my app. All right. Let us go back to our main screen, our landing page of our app. I just want to quickly add in a navigation step behind this button here, the insights, to navigate to that new screen that I've added. So we're just going to say navigate to screen 1. Oops. Navigate to screen 1. There we go. So now we've got a button here that if we click it, we'll move to our new screen. In our new screen, I just want to quickly apply the same layout here. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy those two components, copy them back to my screen container and paste them in there. Whoops. Wrong container. Paste them in
Chris,
there.
while you're building that, can I just point something out?
Absolutely. Go right ahead.
So guys, also note that Chris didn't have to do anything, but it's built out that app interface. It's added a gallery on the left. It's added all the basic plumbing for an app that's searchable. You've got a master, like a master detail list. You can add all the CRUD screens are there. You can add, delete, edit items, simply, by talking to Copilot.
100%. I just want to just change this little display values here that it's a little bit more understandable. Let's go with our title is our value. Let's change that immediately to our description. There we go. There's our description, and our subtitle. Let's make that an asset type. Okay, so I can see the software and the description of that item. Perhaps I want to just quickly change the theme of the entire app. Maybe make it coral over here. Then I've applied a coral theme to my entire app. And just check and see if it's done it on both of our screens. Excellent. And then in my second screen, I'm simply going to change that button to take me back to the home screen. Navigate to main screen. Main screen 1. And then lastly, I'm going to go ahead and add a Copilot control into this window. Okay, there's our Copilot control. Let's just place that in the center. And let's set the width of that control to be its parent's width, so that we don't have to try and match it up and make it fit in our window. All right, and then lastly, I just want to tell this Copilot control that I want you to be able to query the underlying data for the app that we have just created. So there I go ahead and select that underlying data source. I'm going to make sure that it's refreshed. And similarly, the view of that underlying data. These are the default views that was instantiated when it created the table. You can obviously go and create your own custom views in the background. Okay, and there we go. There we've got a basic application with a gallery of all of our existing records, a new screen to view our existing items or to add new items, and we've added in an insight section to our new page. I can now go ahead and play my application, and there's my app. I can immediately use this component over here, show me all of my software entries. So my search as you type is already working for me. I can click on any of my records to view its underlying data. I can go ahead and click on a new button to populate a new one. Asset ID CB001, region KwaZulu-Natal, value 2000, theme for digital workplace. There's all those choices that I've given it earlier. It's now drop-down fields in my solution. Let's say this is a printer, Epson laser printer as example, with a serial number and a warranty expiry date. Let's make that the end of December. And I can click submit to save my new record in the database. That, in its essence, is creating a brand new app with an underlying data structure and schema and a UI that has been built on the back of that component. Right here inside Power Apps, I further have the ability to tap into additional Copilot components. Perhaps I just want to understand something as I'm building, like, for example, what is a collection inside a Power App? I've heard about it. How can I use it? What will it do to improve my process here? And I've asked about what is a collection. Perhaps that panel a bit. And there we go. A collection in a Canvas app is a group of related items that are similar, such as products in a product list. A collection can store data that users can manage within your app. To create and update a collection in the Canvas app, here are the steps to follow. Or perhaps I just want to quickly understand how to use the patch function. I want to just, I've heard about it again. What is a patch function? Copilot. And there it gives me an explanation of my patch function. It does include some building components, like I could tell it to please add for me in 3 more screens, change the theme to dark blue, change the sort order of my left-hand gallery to be in reverse versus ascending, for example. So I can also use Copilot to interact with the app's design components. But I think let's pause there, just in the interest of time. And I'm going to go ahead and publish my app. Busy publishing my app. And let's go ahead and leave here. Okay, just in case that happened, let me go ahead and open our app that we've already provisioned. Asset tracking. Oh, oops, I didn't want to edit the app. I just wanted to play the app. And here is a asset tracking solution. Obviously, I can now interact with these records. I can search, add more, but I also wanted to just quickly show you guys the Insights tab that we've now added. So in this case here, I could do things like how many records are in the database. There are 15 records in the database. What is the total value of records? Remember, there was a value column. We didn't set the currency, but it should return for us the value. The total value of the records is $7,240. So this is how Copilot can help me build my app, and I can use the Copilot control inside my app from a design point of view to ask and get insights and assistance along the journey of building the app, or by adding a control into my app to allow my user to interrogate or query the underlying data. Cool stuff. Let's move on to the next component, Power Automate. So we have records that we now have an interface for to capture and store them in a database, but we want to add automation behind that. So let's go in here, add an automation component behind this. Start an approval when a new record has been added to a table. Okay, so I wanted to start an approval process if a new record is added. And once approved, post into a Teams channel a message. Copilot now analyzes my query input and it creates for me a suggested flow. So when an item is created, do these specific items. I do want it to change that ever so slightly to be on a Dataverse table. There we go. Now I can connect that new asset application's underlying data to this process. And once a new record has been created, it will start an approval process with a condition to determine its outcome. I'm going to go ahead and click next. It'll give me a quick summary of the connections it will make in the background. So it will connect as me against Dataverse, it will connect to Teams approvals, and it will connect to Microsoft Teams as myself. Let's go ahead and create our flow. And there we can see in our canvas, Power Automate is now building my workflow for me. When a row is added, modified, or deleted, start and wait for an approval process, and on the outcome of the condition, post to a channel or a chat in Microsoft Teams. Just zoom in ever so slightly. Okay, so now that I'm in over here, I could say, for example, let's quickly update this underlying data. So when a record is added to our table, asset tracking, I want you to start and wait for an approval. The first person to respond or multiple people will be assigned this approval, and everybody must approve that item. Let's go with first to respond. And here it creates the little interface for me. What is the title of that approval? A new asset record requires approval. Who am I going to assign this to? I could look up it dynamically, my manager, a specific individual in the organization with a job title of procurement officer, for example. But just in the purpose of this exercise, I'm going to select Gary@firsttech.digital. I can provide some additional markdown information around this approval. This is for that specific asset created by this user for that team for this specific region. I can include all that underlying information, but let's keep it with that. And then I'm saying that if it has been approved, let's go ahead and post in a channel as the Flowbot in a specific channel for my Microsoft team. I'm going to choose my Chris Botha Sandbox team site, and that will load the channels from that team site and post in the general channel. And there is the basis of my automation workflow. When a new asset is added into the database, start an approval process in Microsoft Teams with Gary. Once it is approved, post to a channel so that everybody else knows that the item is approved. And if it's rejected, it will not post that message. Quick, simple, easy. Again, I can use the Copilot here on the right-hand side to ask it questions, best practice. How can I do this? How can I do that? I could do something simple as a final step, create a entry in Outlook calendar. And that will now add for me the Outlook control, create an event, quickly checking in the background if I have permission to do so, and what is all the controls that it requires. And then I can see it's added in my entry. So once it's created and approved, it's posting it to a channel, and it's going to go and create for me in a calendar. This could be my procurement calendar. This could be my IT calendar, where I want to insert things like the renewal date, so that once this item is approved and it's in the database, go and add for me into a calendar the renewal date of that device, so that us as the IT team looking at that calendar can obviously track and monitor the expiries and renewals of upcoming items and devices. Super. Guys, I'm going to pause right here. There's still quite a bit to come from Gary's side. Before we do that, I would like you guys to just quickly complete a second poll for us while Gary switches over.
Thanks, Chris.
Okay, super, Gary, you can take over. Thank you.
Hey guys, so thanks for that, Chris. That was really awesome. I mean, it just fully shows off the power of low code. It shows how developers can rapidly fast track a lot of the scaffolding of your app development. You can see how a lot of the kind of boilerplate stuff, spinning up that database, manipulating the database, creating the app, and then really the awesome piece of that is that you made the app intelligent. The app can have its own embedded Copilot, which is awesome. Also, just for the Power Automate guys, I hope you noticed the new sort of Power Automate user interface for the designer that's shipping now with Copilot. Cool. So Steph, just give a shout once the poll is done.
It's done, Gary.
Okay, great. So yeah, guys, so I'm going to talk about two of the other aspects of Copilot in Power Platform. And the awesome news is that Copilot is here for the full Power Platform. And there's some really exciting stuff in here. And the whole goal and the key messages here are that, one, low code, it doesn't exclude developers. So developers are welcome in this low code space. And hopefully we'll get time and I can show you a little bit of an example, where we can augment a lot of our tooling by dropping to code, so that old kind of misperception around low-code platforms is that it's on Rails and you're kind of limited to the sort of the GUI, is no longer the case. So from the Power Platform, a Power Apps perspective, you can drop to code, build out custom connectors, build out custom controls, and then leverage those inside your app. The same in Power Automate. And then the two components that I'm going to talk about today, one is Power Virtual Agents, and the other one is Power Pages, like possibly a lesser known aspect of Power Platform. So the first thing I want to talk about is Power Virtual Agents, and I'm sure most of you are aware of what a Power Virtual Agent is, but effectively it's a bot. So it's a conversational experience. Guys are using them in service desks and help. They're pervasive in all modern websites. But the point I want to focus on is Copilot. That's sort of inside Power Virtual Agents. So if you just give me a sec, I'm going to move over to my screen. So just give a shout if you guys can see the PVA landing page.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, great. So the first thing to note about PVA is that, as is the case with Microsoft, things are evolving at a rate of knots. So recently, what was the PVA Studio, you can see it sort of at the top now, is called Copilot Studio. So this is pretty much brand new, like a couple of weeks old. And effectively what Microsoft have done is they've taken this PVA kind of bot development IDE or experience and kind of elevated it. So now you're able to build your own copilots. So if you think about it, PVA is a conversational chat experience, which is similar to what the Copilot experience is where you're talking, with natural language to these large language models. So they've now kind of built this inside of this Copilot Studio. So you'll note here that in the Copilot Studio, I can create a new Copilot, right? Instead of just saying create a bot, I can add a whole lot of new options. I can add plugins to my bots. So one of the new experiences, and we'll have a look at this in a moment, is this concept of generative actions, right? So what Microsoft have done is, for all of you guys that have built bots in the past, you'll know that it's quite an arduous experience. Historically, what you're going to need to do is you're obviously going to get out there, you've got to build out all your topics. And in some cases, if it's a complex bot, you might have hundreds of topics. All of these are static. And you've got to build out all the logic. You've got to build out the flow of questions and answers, and build out all your variables, and get this entire thing to work. There's a lot of time in testing because it's so manual to get it all to work. But what we're going to see today is that with PVA and Copilot, it's just orders of magnitude more powerful, and there's really very, very little that you need to do to get a bot up and running. So what I'm going to do is I've prepared a couple of bots just in the interest of time. So the first one I want to just show you is it leverages this concept of generative actions. So the idea of generative actions is you're able to, say you're going to make a call from a bot to query, like in our case, we're going to use a weather service. Historically, you need to do that whole configuration. What PVA and Copilot Studio allow you to do now is you can basically go and create a library of all these plugins. So you create whatever these plugins are. They might be, and they're all basically APIs. So you might be calling Yelp, you might be calling like a travel booking service, airline ticket booking, that type of thing, or a weather service. And these become, it's almost like Lego blocks. These become available to your bot. But the beauty of this is that you don't need to actually go and configure them, because the bot is using large language models. It understands. So if you ask a question about the weather, it's going to, if it can't find it, what it's going to do is it's going to go and look at available plugins and literally pull. So it's going to assemble it and say, okay, I need to query this weather service. It's going to pull that into the experience and bring back. So it's quite phenomenal, the kind of how this is changing the speed of development. So this is the first bot. just also to note, these can be surfaced in like multi-channel. You can surface, once you've created your bot, it's create once and you can deploy to multiple channels. So I could deploy it to Teams, I could deploy it to a website, or a whole range. I'll show you what the channel options are if they have time. But I'm just going to, for the sake of time, I'm just going to sort of look at it inside the environment. So all I've done is I've fired up the bot. I'm going to wake it up with a question. And it asks what I want. So let's just say I want a weather forecast. And it asks me what city's weather I want to check. Let me check that again, one sec. So guys, this is Copilot, and this is in preview. So some of these things don't always work. Okay, guys. So what we're going to just try is this bot called a travel bot. Okay, so what I've got here is I've got let's call it a travel bot, and what I've done here is just all I've done is pointed it at 4 websites, basically. So typically you would have to go in and kind of create all of these topics, they're called, right? So I've created no topics. All I've gone in and done is just added these URLs, right? So let's say I want to ask about cruises. It's going off, it's coming back, and it's giving me some info, and it's actually giving me a citation. So I could actually click and go off and sort of look at that content, that particular document. Maybe I'm traveling and I need to know what documents I need. You can see it comes back and it gives me a whole bunch of information from this particular website, with citations and with links off to all the information that I might need there. Let's say I want to know how I prepare for the cruise. So you can see it's kind of bringing back a bunch of this information that I need. So I'm going to look for some different, like other type of information that I might need while I'm traveling. So I'm going to New York, and so there it's just kind of bringing back all this information, and I can go and I carry on kind of querying this. And what's really great about this is that PVA kind of keeps your context. So if I ask questions, it knows what I've just asked. So I'm going to go to a different Copilot. So that's demonstrating like it looking at external information. And this is so simple to set up. You literally create a new bot and go and grab, if you want to query, people to be able to query your public facing website, Before there was kind of a mission of authoring. Now you literally, when you create the bot, you just point it at your URL and that's it. It doesn't take time to index. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly show something else now. This is querying SharePoint. So this is now the other experience where the bot is connected via a kind of an app and single sign-on in Azure AD to query SharePoint. So what I've got is I've got a SharePoint site, and I want to maybe ask, let's just see, who is the CEO? You can see it kind of brings back information. In the interest of time, I'm not going to go more, but you can query like a lot of the content of your internal SharePoint site. I can also look for information. So I want to know about a client. I can say it. So this is now looking inside my SharePoint environment. It's secure, it's not available to the public, and it's actually going and looking in amongst my documentation, and it's coming back and telling me about a company, it's a client, and here's some of the documentation pertaining to that company. So what you can also do with this is you can query literally files. So this is actually going in and looking at a Word document, bringing out that information. So that's super powerful. You can also use this to query OneDrive, etc. Cool. The last thing I want to do is just show you, I'm going to create a new Copilot. And let's just call this online shopping. And, oops, man. That's all I'm going to do. I'm not even pointing this at a website. I click create. Okay, now what this is going to do is I want to create a topic, right? So let's just say I want to create I basically want to create a bot for people to do some online shopping. So I've already prepared this prompt so that it doesn't take a long time to type it in. So basically I'm saying let someone order clothes, choose from common clothing types, sizes, quantities, genders, fabrics. They should be able to choose shipping, delivery, and payment options, add a question to ask them the preferred method of contact, and provide a summary of the order. So let's say I'll just say order clothes. That's all I had to do, right? Now, watch what's going to happen is as this builds out, you're going to see over here, you can watch it literally building this whole bot for me, right? So all these questions that I wanted it to ask. So now I can say order clothes. And it's going to let me make my choices. I want to order a shirt, medium, order 6. Fabric type. So it's taken my order. How do I want to receive it from a delivery perspective? Okay, I want express shipping. My address. Is 10 High Street. How do I want to pay? I'll pay with a card. And what's my preferred method of contact is email. And there you can see it gives me a summary of my order before I actually place the order. So just to kind of show, like literally, I didn't create any other topics. All I did was created a new bot, went to the Copilot, used the prompt, and kind of grabbed and it's created the entire bot interactive experience for me. And I can obviously go in and customize these steps. I can further it. I can move it onto with automation, etc. So that's just from that perspective. The other one I want to quickly talk to, Chris, just take a couple of minutes for this. So I just want to quickly speak to Power Pages. So you can see what I've done here. Power Pages, for you guys who are not familiar, is Microsoft's, you can call it WordPress on steroids. It's the solution for building like business, data-driven corporate websites, super powerful. And so let's say, let's just sort of preview the site. So let's say the scenario is that, we manage the First Digital Bank kind of website. So this is just a simple demo website kind of built out in Power Pages. And we want to, like part of the brief is that we need to, like we want to add a page because we've got a new product, like we've got a student loan that we're offering. So I could just say, add a new page for a student loan offering. So student loan product. So what it's doing in the background is actually going out, creating a page, creating the HTML, creating the layout, and then using the large language model to kind of figure out what I might need. So here it comes back. It's like student loan product, get the funding you need for your education, apply now. And obviously I can come in and change these images, but you can see it's created like a layout, repayment options, low interest rate. It's all relevant to what I've just created. And I could do things like, say you can use this to dynamically create a form. So let's say I want to now create a student loan form to accompany that. So if I go in and add a component, you can see it kicks in the Copilot assistant, and I can say create a student loan application form. And you can see it gives you some suggestions. It's got kind of other options. And now for people who've created a form, obviously it's not rocket science, but you got to think about the data structure. You got to think about the layout, everything. So you can see it's created this form for me, like all these fields that are relevant. It's used the large language model, looked at a lot of student loan forms and come back. I can do the same as Chris was doing earlier by removing and adding fields. I can do that dynamically. I can fully manage the form with Copilot. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to save it. So what it's doing is it's creating like a table in Dataverse. It's building out the HTML page. It's building out the CSS it's building out the layout, and it kind of brings this form back. This is the form basically. And then the last thing I just want to point out is that you can leverage, you can drop to code, as I mentioned. So you're not bound into this IDE. So say this is a form I've created before. You can see it's very simple out of the box. But now what I can do is if I want to style it, I can say edit code. I can open up Visual Studio Code. And what you'll see now is it's opening up that website in Visual Studio Code. And what you'll notice is that there's also a Copilot. So once it's done its thing, there's also a Copilot for Power Pages, right? So I can invoke that, and now I've got a Copilot here where I can ask it questions, and it'll generate code. So say I want to write some code to validate like an email field. I just give it that prompt, And here it comes back with a code. Now what I can do is I can either copy it or I can inject it directly in. So I obviously need to inject it into the right page. And then what I also want to just show is if you to kind of style this, I just created some CSS before, but you can also ask Copilot to generate the CSS for you. And what I will do is literally, you can see I'm on this JavaScript page. I'm just going to insert that. Right, and then I just need to save all. Just actually get it to click on this. Right, so it's basically saved both of those. And if I go back to Power Pages, you can see it wants to sync. And it was ridiculous. Sorry, guys. So it's just going to sync the changes back. You can see there it's now like applied that styling, and it will also have created that validation. So if I preview this form, and let's say I put in like an erroneous type of email address, and try and save the form, try and submit. So it'll tell me that that field is not, I got the wrong field there, is not in the correct format. But just the point is that you're able to, you're not locked into this IDE. You can drop to Visual Studio Code. Visual Studio Code for Power Pages has got full Copilot support. You can build out, you can write code, you can create all new pages, and you've got that capability. So yeah, back to you, Chris. Guys, serious apology for the mouse issues.
No, it's all good. Thanks, Gary. Powerful stuff. Powerful stuff. Gary, please just bring our slide back up and jump to slide 17, if you can. Okay, super. Sorry, one forward.
Okay.
Okay, super. So getting started with Copilot, some considerations and license requirements. Obviously, first and foremost, a user needs to be on Office 365 or M365 and have an Entra ID. At this point in time, you can only bolt on the Copilot license to E3 and E5 licenses. It is a bolt-on, so you can purchase 10 licenses and assign it to 10 individual users within the organization, which you've obviously earmarked. This has now been available since the 1st of November, and it's currently priced at $30 per user per month. So obviously, you need to consider which users requires Copilot, and if Copilot's the right tool for your organization before purchasing. In our early stages, we saw that that Dataverse was the only option to connect our applications with, but Microsoft is now slowly but surely adding in the other connections as well. So I can connect to SharePoint as a data source or a Excel document in OneDrive, for example. But this is available now. When you do create a new environment inside your Power Platform workspace, you will need to select the US environment to provision a preview environment to play around with Copilot, with that being rolled out to all of the data centers around the globe. Fantastic. I think you can jump to our last slide, and we'll see if there's any time left to answer any remaining questions in the chat. I think we've managed to answer quite a few of them. I just want to see if there's quickly something that stands out.
Chris, if there is a minute, it would be good to just highlight for the audience our technical readiness assessment for Copilot readiness. If there's time.
I agree. Now, I think most of our questions have been answered in the chat. I would like you then to close out with that readiness assessment. Thank you, Gary.
Sure, guys. So just something to be aware of is obviously Copilots, it's like being a kid in a candy store. There's so many cool, exciting, fun kind of tools that you could use. And it's easy to kind of switch them on, basically. So something we kind of need you to be aware of is that your environment needs to be prepared for Copilot. So you need to consider things around your data security, around your data privacy, and your data classification, etc. So one of the things we're offering to kind of support our clients is a technical readiness assessment for Copilot. So we kind of come, assist you in taking a bit of a deep dive into your content, into your current security scenario, your data loss prevention policies, your kind of classification, etc. And then also from a security perspective. So we help you kind of centralize your data, improve your data quality so it's ready for Copilot. We identify kind of sensitive and overshared content, help you clean up permissions and policies, and then look at some governance going forward. And this is critical, that you are locked down. So whilst you can get the benefits of Copilot, you're mitigating the risks up front.
Fantastic. Guys, thank you very much for joining our session here this morning. I hope it's been insightful and inspiring. Please reach out or connect with us if you would like to take this journey further. We're here to help our customers on this Copilot minefield, if you could call it like that. And as mentioned at the beginning of the call, this recording will be made available. Please feel free to share that with your colleagues that might not have been able to join this morning session. Thank you and have a fantastic day further. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Thanks, everyone.